Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is August the 7th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Today was good. We had a good Thursday, as I am wont to do. It's my favorite day of the week, so it's always nice when that correlates. You know, your favorite day, you have a good day. That's what you want. That's the vibration you're looking for, right? So, we get up. Oh, also, I remembered the name of the coffee. It's Kauai Coffee. Definitely good. Definitely worth it. I had some more this morning. I had this one with no creamer, so you have to just like more or less have more of the flavor, right? It's good. I think this is the new coffee now, at least for me. So, we had a good start to the day, and we went to work, and work was a vibe. It was busy but not crazy, so we like that. Nice little steady pace, just keep us on the job, keep us, milling about. But one thing I wanted to discuss, I forgot to mention it because I was a little bit in my woes, wiping off my woes yesterday. But it happened again today, and with another coworker, and it really like warmed my heart, and I want to just mention it because I don't know, just for the record, I don't know, and I just feel like it's worth mentioning it because it's a part of this whole process for me, right? But having my friends, people I care about and stuff, and who care about me, come up to me and have these like real moments and say like, yo, your journey, your fitness journey has inspired me to do the same. I've had that happen, another time or two before, and it really is so heartwarming. Like it means a lot to me that like I have a positive effect on the people around me. That's something that is important, in terms of like my own personal goals in life. I think is like, I don't consider myself the best person in the world. I've definitely made a slew of mistakes, but if I can leave a positive mark on the people around me, and I spurred them to be better or whatever, more times than not, I really just want to make my friends laugh. I want to make my friends smile. Like that to me is the best thing I could do. If I'm funny to my friends, then I go out happy. But the icing on the cake are just moments like that where you have a friend saying like, yo, like you've inspired me, and I'm like, thank you. Because I also know too, for me, I didn't just wake up one day and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna lose all this weight. I'm gonna like go to the gym every day. Like I didn't just switch on like that. It wasn't that easy. It was a slew of a bunch of things all culminating into, a decision over time. But definitely a thing along the way was just seeing my friends, seeing them be active, seeing them make personal progress on their fitness journey, just wanting to get stronger or look better or whatever. And seeing them do it, showed me, I'm like, okay, I can do it too. It's not just something that you see on Instagram or, social media, whatever. Like, you can make it happen for yourself. And that really, spurred me on, among other things. So I'm happy to be that for other people. I think that was something that I didn't even talk about because I was so worked up about the weight, which is a thing that I just do. You know what I mean? I'm still in my bag about that. That's an up and down thing. But overall, I really, that was very nice, and I wanted to share that moment. But after work, what comes next? The thing that got us here was the gym. Baby, it. Gym was good. It was solid. I will say though, throughout the day, I've had some back pain. Surprise, surprise. But not too bad overall. At least at this point, it's not crazy. It actually feels better than it did at the top of the day or towards the middle of the day. Hoping that I feel like 100% tomorrow, because it's big lift day, it's heavy lift day. Hopefully we can carry that weight, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted. But like I said, gym was good, work was good. We've had a good day, so I'm stoked about that. I'm happy to report in about that. Let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's get into some news. I know I'm already yapping a lot. Oy. Okay. From ABC 7, Eyewitness News. 2 dead after helicopter crashes into Mississippi River barge near Illinois. 2 people died when a helicopter crashed into a barge in Mississippi River near East Alton, Illinois on Thursday, the Federal Aviation Administration said, or the FAA. Let's see. Dallas Thompson of Missouri State Highway Patrol confirmed that the 2 inside the aircraft were killed and that there were no other reported injuries. The State Patrol said no one was on the barge when the crash happened. So at least that's a silver lining in that situation, that, this barge wasn't active. There weren't people on it. Unfortunately, the 2 people inside the helicopter did die. So that is sad. The helicopter ran into a power line and crashed around 11 a.m. Thursday on Mississippi River, about half a mile downriver from Alton Dam, said Rivers Point Fire District Chief Rick Pender. Fire, emergency, medical, and law enforcement personnel responded to the crash. Federal agencies are on the way, Pender said. The FAA and National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the crash. So yeah, that is an unfortunate story to, start us off with. But it's not like we're really getting much better. We got to go into the Trumpverse. We got to talk about some Trump shit. There's a slew of things. And, I've also just realized, and I'm sure, audience, thank you for bearing with me. I can't cover all of it. There's always so much. I try to get the things that I feel like are pretty important, and kind of go from there. But this story is from Yahoo News. Trump ordered a new census that doesn't count on undocumented immigrants. Will it really happen? And what would be the impact? President Trump said Thursday that he is ordering his administration to begin work on a new census that excludes undocumented immigrants from the national tally of people living in the United States. People who are in our country illegally will not be counted in the census, he wrote in a post on Truth Social. It's unclear from his post whether Trump intends to have the change in place for the next official census, which wouldn't be conducted until 2030, or a different count completed sooner. Leaving undocumented immigrants out of the census would run directly against language in the Constitution that orders the government to count the whole number of persons in each state. The Constitution also gives Congress, not the president, control of the census. But that really hasn't stopped him. In his first term, he tried to have a question where you're supposed to tell your citizenship status. Ultimately, though, the Supreme Court blocked that, but they didn't. They did the thing where they kicked the can, and they're like, we're not going to rule on it directly, though. They just didn't have a say, but they didn't let him put that question on. This is a thing that really runs deep with the Conservative Party. They feel like, well, if we get rid of all of the undocumented people on the census list, it will make our numbers better. That's essentially the running theory here. And they're saying, well, yeah, because we would nuke California, we would nuke, I'm not saying obviously not physically nuke, but we would take out those numbers. I think they have a list of all of them. New Jersey would also be hit, any big population cities, Illinois. But also Texas would get hit in the situation. Florida would get hit in the situation. But of course they're saying, well, these are all people who are just going to vote Democrat anyway, right? They're illegals who are going to fucking, rig the vote. So essentially by knocking that out, you're leveling the playing field back. And that's what they're thinking in their head. I don't think that this is actually an effective strategy. I think it also flies in the face of what they were kind of saying to themselves, post the Trump win, was well, aren't you guys winning the, people of color vote? Aren't you getting Latino? Aren't you getting more black votes? So why are you so worried about this then? But I think it's a fruition of a thought, and, if Trump wants to make it happen, well, of course he's going to hammer it home. Obviously I don't like this just on the merits. I think it's you should just have the people be the people, to try to be well, you should contribute to society since you are here. You gotta get taxed and all this and that and the third, but you can't vote. you don't have a say. We want to make sure that that's just not a thing. And we're not even talking about that here. We're talking about just being counted. Like, essentially, you're trying to scare people out of being counted. You want to delete them from the fucking conversation. Now, also, there's another part that I'm kind of missing here, which is the representation in government in terms of like each state. Once again, respectively, California, Texas would both get really hit by this. So that would affect the House. That would shrink their numbers. Also Florida, New Jersey, all these numbers would get shrunk down, at least in theory. Also, it would cut funding because that's population, dependent. But then once again, so if you're a Republican in Texas, like, why do you want to shoot yourself in the foot that way? Because then you're going to get less money from the government by saying, well, these people they shouldn't be counted, even though they're here. It's backwards to me. But once again, I mean, it's a kind of running logic that I feel like it's hard to combat with people. They don't really give a shit. They're like, nope, this is the way it should be. They're illegal, so they shouldn't be counted. And it's like, that's just such a weird sentence that people will just fire off, in a tweet or, in an argument, or like that's their just real thought, and they tell it to you off of like, a Coors Light or something. And it's like, okay, bud, I guess, but they are here and they are doing stuff. They are just as you or I. They're just people. So I don't really get it. I think they should be counted. Obviously we're supposed to, do the census, but it's crazy to say, hey, you have to do this thing. And that there's this fear, especially if, you are an undocumented immigrant, that it's like, well, this could be used against me. Like, it's already scary enough to want to even fill this shit out in the first place, right? So trying to delete people from it it's weird. I don't like it, but I did feel like this was definitely warranting, me mentioning. So here we are, yapping it up. But let's move on to another story. This is ICE related, unfortunately. From The Guardian, Border Patrol agents jump out of rental truck and ambush people at LA Home Depot. Actually, let me read this line too. In Operation Trojan Horse, masked officers in unmarked vehicle arrest 16 people despite court order halting raids. U.S. Border Patrol agents carried out a raid outside a Home Depot in Los Angeles on Wednesday, with officers jumping out of an unmarked rental truck and chasing and arresting more than a dozen people. Videos of the operation and federal official statements boasting about the detentions have raised questions about whether the U.S. government was complying with a federal court order halting indiscriminate raids in the region due to evidence of racial profiling. That ruling, upheld last week by an appeals court, followed reports of Latino U.S. citizens getting swept up in LA raids and accounts of undocumented people being targeted based on their appearance and whether they spoke Spanish. Essentially, you look like you fit the bill, and we do have some kind of warrant, maybe, whatever. We're just going to scoop you up. And it's like, dude, I'm telling you, I have, papers. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's like, yeah, we'll sort that out later or something. Like, that's essentially the mentality here. And it's like, brother, these are U.S. citizens. So, that alone, you're already doing a breach here. Constitutionally. But once again, this is just something that this administration shrugs off. This is something that then naturally law enforcement is just going to do the same. Let's see here. Where are we going next? Clips of the early morning raid outside a Home Depot in the Westlake neighborhood near MacArthur Park showed masked, heavily armed officers jumping out of a yellow truck from Penske, a private rental company, and people fleeing. By the way, that's illegal. You can't do that. We've covered stories of Proud Boys and shit hopping out of these fucking rental trucks, U-Hauls and shit. You can't do that. But we have the federal government running it that way. So what do you do here? Even Penske is hey, that's not this is only supposed to be for cargo. We didn't approve that. One day labor present for the Wednesday raid told the Los Angeles Times that a Penske truck pulled up to the parking lot around 6:45 a.m. with the driver telling people gathered in Spanish that he had work to offer. Someone then rolled up the back of the truck, and masked agents, including one in a cowboy hat, jumped out as people scattered, the witnesses said. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, said in an email that agents arrested 16 undocumented people from Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Border Patrol and DHS people did not respond to inquiries about the arrest tactics, and whether agents had been targeting specific people. Also, they say too that it's like, oh, they had warrants. Like there were 77. Let me just read the highlighted portion. I'm just gonna get to it. Get the last name of the guy here. Bovino has previously faced scrutiny for misleading the public about an immigration sweep, in which he said agents had a predetermined list of targets with many criminal records. Records later showed that 77 out of 78 people detained had no prior record with the agency, according to a Cal Matters investigation. He also falsely claimed that a U.S. citizen who was arrested had been charged with assaulting one of his officers, as the Guardian reported this week. So these are the same kind of people running these operations, which they called, it was Gregory Brovino, sorry. This was the Operation Trojan Horse. And it's the cowboy hat. It is the corny ass fucking line. It's like the level of unseriousness from our law enforcement about something so serious is like peeling people up and taking them out of the streets, just scooping them up, disappearing them. And it's like, yeah, this is what we're supposed to do. These are criminals. They're all criminals. And it's like, and then you look at them, it's like, no, they're just normal people, like you or I, just living a fucking life, and they're just getting snatched up. And it's supposed to be deemed okay. And you literally have court saying, it's like, no, you can't do this. You actually have to like have, real warrants for these people, like these individuals. You can't just like run through the streets and say, well, let's get this group of people. Let's get those groups of people. Like, oh, well, while we're here, let's get all of these people. No, you can't do that. And that is what they are doing. And once again, these are the people running the fucking show. And they're doing this strong sense of force in a place like California to show that if we can do it here, we're going to do it goddamn anywhere. And it is just a matter of getting these goddamn numbers up. That's all we care about here. Like, that is essentially what this administration is demonstrating. That is what they're saying. So yeah, it's sad, man. It's fucking scary, So yeah, obviously fuck ICE, fuck Border Patrol, fuck all that bullshit, man. Before we leave the Trumpverse, this is something I've been I'm pressing myself to talk about. Trump doubled the tariff on India. So now it's like to 50%. They're getting like taxed more than China, or tariffs more than China at this point. They're potentially, they're like in a Russia situation, but essentially they are being tariffed for dealing with Russia in terms of like gas and stuff like that. But there's a cruel irony here in that India has brought up where it's like, you guys wanted us to do that. Like when it was the Biden administration, this shit is popping off, tensions are at an all-time high, and we were worried about gas being sold, to Russia, but we know that if we completely cut that shit off, it's going to be bad for the economy. There's going to be a blowback that we don't want to deal with. So India is like, well, we don't want to have to keep finding some weird alternative solution. We would just rather just keep dealing with them as opposed to doing something else. So let's just let us deal with them and kind of keeps the line open, right? And we know China's doing that. Okay, like it won't be completely shut down. And it's like, it was a stupid, weird dance that we were doing at the time, and it's been that way. And now Trump wants to say, well, that's bad. That's not what we want. You can't deal with it. Even though, mind you, that there are talks of Trump and Putin meeting up again for a quote unquote serious, I shouldn't say quote unquote when I'm about to paraphrase, but a more serious talk on ceasefires. So this is a very loop-de-loop confusing thing. You want to say, well, is this administration just being fucking dumb fuckheads? Maybe. But there also could be the angle of like, we just want to hit India hard here so that they really negotiate with us in a way that we want, because we want to try to balance the scales like we did with China. Because once again, this is the only similarity. Like anyone who's come close in terms of the tariff number percentage, like right now, currently, it's worse for India than it is for China currently. So that's wild to be at that point. But once again, I don't think it's going to stay that way. But I'm sure the number that we're going to come down and maybe see is not going to be good either. And I'm sure India's not happy about that. It also stands to, we got to see how India fully reacts to this. What's their response fully? Are they going to fight this? Are we going to actually have a trade war for real? Or are they going to capitulate? Are we waiting for whatever the fuck Russia or Putin and Trump say? I don't know. Anyway. I figured I'd mention that. I know. But we've made it to the last story for the day, for the night, depending on when you're listening, I guess. For me, it's the night per recording. All right. So, before we buzz off, let me take my last break and we will close it out. Buddy. All right. Our last story comes from The Independent. Beekeeper vigilante. Why did I say vigilante like that? Vigilante. Vigilante or vigilante? I don't know. I kind of want to say vigilante for the rest of this. Sorry. Beekeeper vigilante unleashed dozens of her creatures on cops to try and stop eviction, officials say. I feel like calling them creatures feels derogatory. Look, man, I don't like getting stung neither, but like, don't put it on the bees. Anyway, Massachusetts police have, I got stun locked just saying Massachusetts. Massachusetts police have issued an arrest warrant for Rory Susan Woods, a Hadley woman, excuse me, who missed her trial Tuesday on charges related to her allegedly unleashing bees on sheriff's deputies during a 2022 eviction. The alleged incident occurred on October 12th, 2022, when deputies with the Hampton County Sheriff's Department were serving an eviction notice at a home on Memory Lane in Longmeadow. Woods, then 55, arrived at the scene in a blue Nissan Xterra, leaving her dog inside the car. She reportedly went straight to the beehives hitched to her SUV and began attempting to open the lids to release the bees. A sheriff's deputy tried to stop her, but Woods allegedly agitated the bees, causing them to swarm the area. She then forcefully broke open a hive lid and knocked one of the hives off the flatbed, further provoking the bees. The insects became highly aggressive, stinging several deputies, some of whom have allergies, as well as nearby bystanders, officials said. One officer was hospitalized due to the stings. Eyewitnesses said Woods then put on a beekeeper suit and brought out a second box of bees, apparently to escalate the chaos and stop the eviction. Woods was arrested on 4 counts of assault and battery with a dangerous weapon, the bees, 3 counts of assault with a dangerous weapon, the bees, and 1 count of disorderly conduct. I mean, that was just her being rowdy. Upon her arrest, Woods was being held at the Western Mass Regional Women's Correctional Facility per a news release. Now, she was scheduled for trial on Tuesday at Springfield District Court, but however, she failed to appear for her trial. So she's on the lam. She ran. Now, I know I'm giggling, and, I want to come out and say I'm not advocating for this. Obviously, this is not how you should handle an eviction process, but I am saying I think I get it. I think you've ever been through that kind of thing, and you're pressed, and you're like, these motherfuckers are fucking with me. And I have never had a whole trunk full of bees. So, you know what I mean? I might be moving a little bit different too if I was literally the guy from Metal Gear fucking Snake Eater. I'm the pain, and you're going to take my home away from me? Oh, no, you're not, sweetheart. Bzz. Release the bees. And she was about it. Like, I do, if you are interested, please go look up the pictures. Like, at least the pictures, like, from the article, because she just is going for it. And you see these guys, they're just trying to be like, stop. And she's just like, fuck that. I'm freeing the bees. I'm freeing the bees to keep my home. And, once again, she did not handle this well. This is not the move. Also, skipping your trial, that's only going to make this worse. You know what I mean? These bees can only do so much for you, lady. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I do get it. I also don't like, because we're going to skip to kind of the end here. They try to do this thing where they're like, oh, the sheriff back in 2020 during COVID was like super good about like handling evictions, and like it was just like it was the weird people too. We're the good guys shit. I'm like, brother, you're here to evict this woman. Do you think she cares about that? Like, No, I wouldn't either. I would still be like, fuck you guys too. Now, granted, I'm not saying I would once again free the bee, but I am saying I get the feeling. I understand that. Um, let's see. I'll just read the fucking quote. We truly try to help everyone we are court ordered to evict, and the New York Times even documented the sheriff's humane eviction process during the pandemic. I'm just thankful no one died because bee allergies are serious. I hope that these out of country protesters will reconsider using such extreme means in the future because they will be charged and persecuted, he said. Like, oh, okay. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's so overcooked. Like, we did such good in 2020. Give us a pat on the back. It's like, dog, you're here to fucking kick someone out of their home. Like, yeah, man, fuck that shit. That's beyond pig violence as far as I'm concerned. I'm sorry. I don't know. But yeah, once again, don't free the bee. Please don't do that. Is that it? That's really all I got. So yeah, I guess we can go ahead and just buzz on off. But just geez, oh geez, if you'd like to help out and support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Put some honey in my pot. No. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any other socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's a free action that helps out a lot. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. But also follow on TikTok. Follow on TikTok, the Tiki-Taki. Follow on Spotify. That's kind of like the home spot. That's like where, the magic happens. It's where I post usually, and it kind of spreads out usually. And then, Spotify or Apple Podcast. Yeah, we're killing this outro. We're doing so good. Let's see. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.